Now, I told y'all how I felt about All Star from my lens, just as a person in the media space and how everything happened in the live show. Now it's time to talk about the actual All Star weekend, right? The events, the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, the actual game itself, and just the vibe surrounding everything. There was a lot of talk all week or all month or for a few months leading into All Star about a lot of different things, right? The way that the guys play, the competitive nature, and the format. And I'll be honest, I was a guy that was very critical of the format and what it would do to the game. And I will say there has been clips and pictures of everything of the arena maybe not being as packed as we're used to seeing it. And I do want to say that could be a couple of things. Number one, these games started extremely early, especially for us that was actually there. We're already on the West Coast, but we're doing things at 2 o'clock, and people are like, "Oh, the game is about to start, or the 3-point shootout is about to start." I'm like, "What? It's about to start? It's 2 o'clock." So I think that may have had something to do with it. It is one of those cities in LA where there's a lot of other distractions that can keep you away from a bunch of different things. But I had fun and I enjoyed everything, right? And I want to be able to lock in on that. But there is one thing that I do have an issue with, and it needs to be addressed and it needs to be fixed. The dunk contest has to be better. And the reason I have an issue is based off what Damian Lillard said when he won the 3-point contest. Damian Lillard won and he did his interview. And during that interview, he was asked, like, why was it so important to come out here? As we know, you're dealing with the injury and everything. And he had a lot of good things to say, right? He's like, man, shout out to the NBA. It's good for me, to get some competitive nature in because I've been sitting out for so long. Also to get in front of the fans and get that experience of pressure, right? To feel pressure again. But then he also said, like, it's a responsibility for us. Like, this is the weekend where we're putting on a show for our league, for the fans. And we have to be able to be okay with coming out here to succeed or fail. And that's when I was like, boom, he hit it on the head. Guys need to get into this dunk contest and be okay with failing, right? Like the dunk contest has not been what it has been in the past because it doesn't have star power. And I think it's because some of our stars are afraid to fail. They're afraid to go up there and may not and maybe miss a dunk or not be able to do anything that's like mind blowing. You also have to say, like, man, how many more new dunks can we see? Who cares, right? Maybe you can do a dunk that we've seen already, but people just love it more because it's you and you're a superstar. Maybe you make it look aesthetically more pleasing. I don't know. But I know based off of every other event, the dunk contest needs some sort of star power. Shout out to Keyshawn Johnson. Um, he was the one guy who I felt was deserving of the dunk contest because of he had like a bravado. It was like, hey, he came out dancing with E40. He was pumping up the crowd. He was charismatic. You know what I'm saying? Like he actually seemed like he cared and kind of was putting on a show. He was performing. And so I was so happy to see him ultimately win because again, that's what the entire weekend is about. I know the players are exhausted with everybody trying to pick apart the weekend and be so negative. Even today, before I got to the studio, they put on a hell of a show of the game, and you got Stephen A. Smith talking about, yeah, but what is Kawhi gonna do in the playoffs? Like, dog, shut the hell up. Like stop it. And that's my thing with players. Don't let the media or don't let fans be represented by that. Let him just sit in his own word. That's a Stephen A. Smith statement. That's not the media. Don't tie me into some shit like that. Please keep me far away from a quote like that. In a time where everybody sat and complained about the weekend in the competitive spirit of the game, those guys went out there in a new format, was extremely competitive, put on a show. We all walked away as a basketball community extremely satisfied and was like, hey, man, they actually did. And now, 2 days later, they're on TV again saying, but what is he going to do in April? That is the craziest thing. Like, please do not attach that as a media thing. That is a one individual thing. I just want to let that be known. That is a Stephen A. Smith thing. I have like Crazy that we have convinced and like conditioned ourselves to just find things to complain about, right? It was all about them not being competitive and not taking All-Star game serious. They do that, and then we move the field goal to make it something else. We got to be better. We got to be better. I just had to let that be known. Overall, love the three-point contest. I think that was a star of the weekend again to see Damian Lillard in a time when we have not seen him be able to come out and knock down shots like that. Incredible. Out the gate, we got Colin Knippel putting up a 27. D Book gave us a 30 in the first round. The shot making, the focus, the intensity, the competitive nature. Even when D Book kind of at the end there, he had a chance to win it and tie it up, and he missed like the last two or three when he had a chance to bring it home. And they asked Dane, like, man, what were you thinking? He's like, man, I ain't gonna lie, I was praying on his downfall. It was funny, but it was real. It's competitive. Like, that's all it's about. It's just being competitive in front of the fans and having that spirit in the air without being, like malicious. You know what I'm saying? So I love that event. And even the Shooting Stars. I think the Shooting Stars was dope. I love being able to incorporate some of our former stars, right? We got a chance to see Allen Houston, Corey Maggette, Ron Harper and his sons. They found a way to get some celebrities involved. Shout out to my team, Knicks. They took it home. Karl Anthony Towns may be the best shooting big man I've ever seen. Like, even to watch something like that, which is a lot more casual, but the shot making that he put on display, he stepped up. He was arguably the best shooter on a team with Jalen Brunson and Allen Houston. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns was knocking that thing down with ease. So shout out to my team Knicks there. And then the game in itself. I did not understand or like the format, right? Breaking the teams down, I was not a fan at all. I felt like it was making things a little bit more complicated. I felt like it's a very simple thing where we just have the two teams play against each other. Why mess with tradition? But I could come up here and admit I was wrong. They put on a very compelling show. I think Kawhi Leonard was absolutely incredible. And it's just dope to see those guys go out there and compete. I do want to say we have to we have to remember that the world essentially was missing Shea, Giannis, Luca, and Jokic because they ain't really, you know what I mean, what they do, like 2 minutes or something like that. So I would love to see, based on that, a world versus US game because that was a driving point of the conversation. Um, After the guys won, I think they said something like, "Yeah, man." Draymond, I think they showed some of the things he was saying on the threads or something like that about USA beating the world team. I think Anthony Edwards made some comments about them, love beating the world team. So if there is this true, genuine competitive thing in the air between the world and the US, let's tap into that as much as possible. There also was a new fold too that I think also created more competition where you had the stars versus stripes. And the stars were like the younger stars, and the stripes were more older, and that felt like a competitive competition between those sides as well. So I think this is something that we should like build on for the All Star game in our format. Continue to find ways that are going to make these guys be competitive, right? And there were so many conversations about what the past All-Star games look like and what happened. People showing clips. The All-Star game has always been very simple. The first quarter or two, the first half, very light. Guys just getting warmed up, putting on a show. Very little defense, right? Because nobody's going to play a full four-quarter game in the All-Star game like it's the game 7 of the finals. But then that last quarter and that second half, the level of competition and focus and effort goes up. And then in that last quarter, we bring it all home with some real competitive stretches. And that's what we got in this game. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm going to clap for the guys for listening to the feedback from the fans. And as long as we get that, I think we'll continue to get All-Star back up. The viewership went up, 8.8 million viewers, most since 2011. That's an 87% increase. So things are going right. All-Star weekend was dope. It was fun. Round of applause. We not moving the goalposts. Cut out the BS, man. All-Star was dope.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.